So some of you may have seen my previous video demonstrating Resin Recreate, which is the cheap Temu version. I'm now using Aquacast, which is my main go-to eco resin, to make another Terrazzo trinket tray. I've never done one with Aquacast yet, so I want to see how it turns out. And I've got some black and red chips from the previous project I've done with some coasters, which will be coming soon on another video. And yeah, I want to make another trinket tray using Aquacast and this combination of colours of black and red. So I'm adding some water here to a cup. I'm adding 105 grams to go with the 300 grams of powder that I'm using. I believe these trinket tray moulds are about 250 grams, so I'm making 300. Here are the instructions I've written out from the Aquacast Elichem website for Aquacast, and it's 300 grams to 105 grams. Just going to mix it all up here, and I should have used a bigger cup. I discovered after putting all 300 grams into this small half-pint cup, it was a bit of a struggle, but I got there eventually. And I used when it softened up a bit more, I used a hand blender for resin just to get it to that smooth consistency, checking there are no lumps in there. Now I'm going to add the black chips from a previous project, some coasters I made. They're in a forthcoming video, so, and some red as well. Mix them in a bit at a time, give it a mix. As I said, I should have used a larger cup for this mixture. I kind of couldn't turn my back after I started doing it. So it was a bit more of a struggle to mix it. I took my time and I got there eventually. I would recommend having a larger container to mix this amount up. And now it's time to pour it in. Now with things like this, you've got that groove there on the trinket tray. You want to make sure when you've got lumps of, like, you know, the chips of the previous Aquacast, which I'm using to make this Terrazzo style, you've got to make sure it's really in the grooves properly. Give it a good shake, a bit of a bash, tap the sides. You want to get as much of the air out from underneath as possible. So I'm just moving it around, giving it a tap, a bit of a squeeze, and you can see some of the bubbles rising to the top here. And then you want to go in with like a stick or something very small and thin, just to push along that groove and move the little chips around. Make sure there's no chips creating like air pocket holes that are going to mess up the actual structure of the trinket tray. So here I am just going in with a stick, a very fine stick, just to make sure I can push up all the air as possible. You can use a lighter or a little torch like I am here to pop the bubbles that come to the surface. And there will be more as time goes on. There's only a short working time on this, so you don't have to check it for the first few minutes, and then just make sure that you've got as many of the air bubbles gone as possible. And there's some left over, as I guessed, so I filled up this little pyramid mould I've got here, which I've used before to make little paperweights. So it's time to demold. This is about an hour and a half later. There's a 60 to 90 minute demold time for the Aquacast. It's going to cure fully after about 24 hours. But that's come out okay. There's a bit of powder there, a bit of residue there that will come off when I wipe it. And clean it off with some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, 99% isopropyl. The pyramid came out okay. I got most of the little air bubbles out, but not all of them. There's a few little cracks and crazes here. Apologies again for the blur. My camera does not want to focus automatically as it should do. That's the trouble when doing these bird's eye view camera filming. It tries to focus on the distance and it gets confused sometimes. I'm using the deburring tool here just to tidy up the edges, get the sharp parts off the edges on both the pyramid and the trinket tray, Just demonstrating briefly how to do that with a deburring tool. Something nice and cheap you can pick up on Temu or Amazon. And then I'll go in with some sanding sheets or sponges as I'm demonstrating here. Whatever's easier and more convenient based on the shape, just to go over and get the excess off and smooth it down. These sponges are quite handy because they're quite versatile, get into little crooks and nannies or nooks and crannies. So I rounded off the point there, made it less sharp, and on the edges too of the pyramid and on the trinket tray. A quick spray with some isopropyl just to get the residue dust off. Here is some little feet you can put on there, some cork feet or rubber feet, just so they don't mark the surfaces that you put them on. What I also decided to do with this, after I finished tidying it up and cleaning it and then waxing it, as I'm going to show shortly, I decided to engrave on this using my laser engraver, having done another previous video which you may have seen with the Monstera leaf mould and the Aquacast in green, and I engraved a palm tree on it. So there'll be links to these videos I'm referring to at the top of the screen on the right or left hand side. I think it's the right hand side. You can click on and you can go and watch those too. See, this wax is Clark's wax. It's like a stone coat wax. Just put a quick coat on there, and again it gives it a layer of protection and really makes those colours pop a lot more as well. So it sort of gets rid of that dullness, gives it a bit of a sheen. I'll go around all the little grooves and just give it a coat on both sides and all over the edges. It's mainly the top or the area that you may get moisture on it that you want to cover, but I tend to do it anyway, just purely because it brings out the colours a bit more. Even if you don't use it in an area with moisture, it's worth doing anyway. So 2 or 3 coats of that. And now it's time for the engrave. So I've done it as a time lapse. This took about 8 minutes in total to engrave. I've been playing around the settings. My previous video I used some other settings which took about 48 minutes, and I had to speed it up quite a lot for quite a large engrave. But I've been playing around since, and I've managed to get it down to a much faster engrave time without losing any quality. So it's still getting a nice, just taking the surface off. It's leaving a lot of the detail there, but it's just making the text or the pattern show through. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been a bit informative. If you have any questions on any of these processes, about Aquacast from Chem, if you've got any questions about the laser, I'm using a Glowforge laser, and the process, if you want more details on what to do and how to use it, then let me know in the comments below. And please subscribe if you like the videos. Give us a like, give us a comment. If you don't like it, thanks for watching anyway.